Hi, and welcome back, everybody. So today is a drawing video, and this one is actually original. So this drawing that I have up here is one that I originally made traditionally, so pencil and paper, and then took a photo and traced it onto a digital platform, so in Photoshop. And this is one that I was kind of feeling like I wanted to make an original concept based off of things that I like. And recently I've been watching a lot of animated shows because I find it so interesting to explore different animation styles and art styles. And I really wanted to try to capture some of that in this little piece. So what I ended up doing here, so I traced it over, got the line work in, and now I'm just going to block in colors. So I did a masking layer that's a neutral gray, and now I'm going in and painting in all of the colors manually. I could have made separate masks, but I decided against it for this one. The three characters here, I based off of shows that I've watched and have enjoyed. The little fox-like creature is based off of a homebrew sort of creature that I saw someone make for a D&D campaign called an Akobi, and it's sort of like a six-legged ferret, and then I changed it to sort of an orangish color to reflect more like of a fox's color pattern. And then the character in the middle, I wanted to capture sort of an idea that I was having of sort of melding like mysticism with sci-fi. And I wanted to make a character that could be sort of like in a rustic setting, like a national park or something, and then find these mystical happenstances going on, and then learn either that they were actually the result of technology from somewhere else, or the two things are coinciding, and there is both interesting sort of cyberpunky technology in a land where there's also sort of a magic system. And this kid explores sort of this rustic national forest or something where he really just wants to go and find out new things, new interesting stuff that he can learn about. The third character, which is this kind of like little white blob, I've noticed a lot of shows have sort of like a cute little nondescript companion, and I really like that. The best example I can think of is in Infinity Train. There is a small, clumsy robot named One that I thought was really good, really funny, and I really like that concept, so I wanted to make sort of like this weird little creature, maybe some sort of like artificially made creature that follows this boy around, kind of like a child or like a baby, not really knowing what to do, but just following him around. I think it would be interesting to give that creature some importance later, making it like the child of something else, or maybe it came from somewhere important, who knows. Technique-wise and everything, what I'm doing here is I did the foreground colors first and blocked them in, and then in the background did some quick sort of brushing in of sunset colors and then blurred it to make a gradient. And then painted in over that some very rough sort of evergreen trees and played around with brushes for the snow effects. And then I copied the first tree that I made, flipped it horizontally, and put it down lower, which is kind of a quick hand trick to make something look different, yet not spend a lot of time completely redrawing another one. After that, I really wanted to give like a grandiose feeling, so I put them on top of a cliff, and I put this like very large sun behind them, and that's not really sensical in terms of like what an actual sun would be, but I wanted sort of a fantastical feel. After that, I turned off all of the front layers or all the front colors, and went back to a neutral gray, and then started doing some highlighting. I went with a sort of warm yellow to represent the color that I put around the sun, and sort of just highlighted try to do some edge lighting basically. I didn't do full edge lighting. I'm still working sort of highlighting and shading techniques, and I'm not great at it yet, but I think that the effect ended up being pretty cool. It kind of has like a back and leftward sort of lean to the highlighting. So I thought that ended up being kind of cool. And then after that, I move on to shading, and I actually choose sort of like a cool dark blue with the opacity turned down for the shading. Since I chose a warmer yellow for the highlights, I wanted the shading to be somewhere on the opposite side of the color spectrum. So I chose sort of a cool blue. And then I'm basically just going to put the shading in everywhere I think it would be, everywhere that's sort of occluded completely by like the sun behind them. I also play around with the idea of like where I want the shading. So I start off with like these very small shadows just right up next to things. Also here I play with a nose, which is kind of funny. I decided I didn't want a nose. Should it have a nose? Probably, but I thought it was sort of an interesting style to leave it off. So, but yeah, I play around with the shadows and start off with these really close, small shadows, and then decide that doesn't make a lot of sense and isn't very visually interesting. So I make the shadows a lot larger and then sort of tilt them back to try to reflect also what I'm doing with the highlights. So after I do that, I start painting in this like larger shadow for both the kid and the little like childlike creature. And I'm keep trying to think of like ways that I can make this piece more interesting, and you'll see that I put in one small little thing later with the shadows, because I want this small like sort of kid creature to have some sort of importance, and actually I'm playing around with it right there. But yeah, so I play around with a lot of ideas there, and I end up going with these like sort of dark, large, ominous eyes. And I want to insinuate there that maybe there is some sort of darker side to this creature, or like something that comes from it. And the whole concept of this is like to be sort of like a pretend show, like a show idea that I was having. And so I wanted it to be, try to plug in a little bit of things that could be interesting in a show manner. I also end up not really liking the hair, and I try out a lot of things here, and the way I try them out is I like put a dummy layer above everything and test out a bunch of things. So I tested out sort of like cutting off these little bubbles on his hair. Then I also tried making his hair go up. I tried making it go to the side, covering his face, tried giving him hats, all sorts of things. Ended up deciding I liked this the most, which was just sort of cutting off those little bubbles and making his hair more of like a bob or something. I also thought it interesting to try to give the boy character and the animal character some sort of way to bond, and I thought it would be interesting that like when he was young or something, he finds this thing, and I gave them both sort of this white streak in their hair, which is just something that's unusual, so they could kind of like see themselves, basically have this boy see himself in the creature by realizing that it has sort of the same stripe as he does. Then finally, I kind of play around with the shirt, give it some details, make it plaid, give it a pocket and some buttons, and that's basically the piece. So here it is. This is sort of the final piece. And I'm kind of proud of this one because it's sort of an original concept, and I went ahead and did shading and everything on it. I didn't go all out, but I went further than I do with most pieces, and I like the end product. So I hope you guys enjoy it as well, and I hope you enjoyed this video. As always, thanks for watching this video, and remember to like, subscribe, and share with your family, your friends, and that weird neighbor down the street. Also, if you like what I do here, be sure to check out my Patreon to help out. And until next time, I hope everyone has a nice day.